I think I still have a few more on my, okay, so these are mine. What haven't we used? Oh, we use a Sharp. We have a Sharpie. We have crayons, pen. We have stencils. Okay. And we have stamps. Let's do a stamp. Now with the stamp, sometimes I like to use the ink for a stamp. You may not all have ink, so we can use a brush. I'm using a dry brush because you don't want the wet brushes on. Now with the brush, this may not give you the kind of exact stamp effect you might want. You get it with the inks, the ink pads, but let's see. I use it mainly with the ink pad. It gives you a really clean stamp. Let's try. Ooh, that's nice. And if you notice, so I didn't use the wash here because that would create more of a runny effect. You wouldn't get the exact outline. But let's do it because that's what it's about. Mixed media exploration. Okay, so what's going to happen when we do this? It kind of goes into the grooves and everything. And it might just give us, I'm not sure what I'm going to get, but it might give us a blob. But it may give us something good as well. Let's try. Okay, it does give you a watery kind of blob. But there's some parts that I'm interested in, like here. You know, they just got really washy and watery, but I think that looks pretty good. You know, you never know. You never know. I feel like I want to explore this some more. Look at that. Still has the wash on it, but less paint now. What happens when I overlap it? I think that's interesting. Because not only now is the stamp, but the stamp is creating visual texture. Isn't that amazing? I think that's great. I love that. Okay, what next? So we did a stamp. Lots of things to explore. Oh, we have a stencil. Okay, traditional stencils. Let's try that. I'm going to go in partly. Fill it right in. Remember, you can make your stencils. You can use a paintbrush with your stencils. Fully. You can use a pen to outline it. You can use wash. A wash will give you a different type of stencil. I just went into the next block. That's okay. So I'll show that this is a wash. It'll give you a different type. I'm leaving my stencil there and just trying to see what happens. I can draw into my stencils. But this is with a charcoal pencil. Okay. But you can draw with many things. Pen, etc. Let's lift it and see. Okay. So this was with the wash. It's like dark on the outside, light on the inside. This I feel had too much. This was a thicker, but it didn't give me the effect I really wanted. But that's what the exploration is about. Okay. So let's see, let's try another stencil and try something else. I have another stencil here, a star, and I want to try, I'm going to use a sponge. So I have a sponge on the end of a stick, or you can use a regular household sponge and just sponge on top, okay? Sponge on top. Or you could use one of these, which are traditional as well. A sponge brush. Let's use a sponge brush, okay? And you just keep going and going. I feel, make sure that edge, so you can get somewhat of an edge. You may want an edge or may not want an edge that's very defined. Here we go. So it's not a very defined edge, and that's nice as well. Or when it dries and you want a defined edge, then you can overlay it and go over with an edge. All right, let's see. Let's finish up with some of our traditional tools. We have, so there's the stencils. We have charcoal pencil. I'm just making random marks. Charcoal pencil. And stick, charcoal stick. Here's my charcoal stick. Look at that. Oh, I love that. You see, I'm just using the side of it and dragging. What if I use the tip? All right. I love the charcoal because you know what we can do with the charcoal? We can add water to it too. Look what happens when I add the water. Look at that. It's almost like my wash here. Okay? Good. Sharpie. Lines. Thick lines, thin lines, diagonal lines, vertical, horizontal, zigzag, dotted, dashed lines. Marks. Just make marks, marks, marks. So that's my Sharpie, and this is another pen. Look at the nib. This can give us really lovely details. Okay, look at that. So we're really exploring everything you have in your palette. Okay, let me do the last page. Look at this. Pencils, my graphite pencils. It's a thin, light one. And then we can see this is a thinner one as well. This is like HB. I don't think I have, where's my darker ones? I can use the charcoal as well. Right? Like a 4B pencil. Some are darker, some are lighter. All right, these are traditional tools. Traditional tools. I believe we went through all of our traditional tools. If you have more to explore, please explore them with your work. You can overlap with some of these if you wanted to fill in or outline something. So this one is stencil, and I'm using graphite pencil with it. So stencil with paint and graphite pencil. So you make your notes, label, and see what's there. So let's let these dry fully. These are my traditional tools. Dry them fully, and then we remove the tape. Wow, that was exciting. Wasn't it fun? We did all our traditional tools and we filled 2 pages. I hope you got a lot. I was so excited to see what it is that you have gotten with your traditional tools, using in traditional ways, as well as, did you notice we used some of those traditional tools in non-traditional ways? So we let it dry fully, and now we're gonna peel it off, okay? So you can leave it, let it dry, or you can use something if you have like a heating gun. So this is my heating gun that I use, and then I'm going to peel it off carefully and see what happens, okay? It just creates a nice negative shape around it, and then you can go back in and you can write and title each one. So when you look at it at another time, you know what materials you use, you know what tools you use, and you could also make little notes of your own. Okay, so let's do that. Time to remove our tape, and you're going to just do it carefully. Now, I did not let mine dry completely just because of time and recording for you. Also, I'm anxious. I don't have any patience, so I just want to rip it off and get my little boxes. All right. As you can see, it's not tearing the page. Painter's tape, sometimes it might do that. I notice it does that with my watercolor paper, maybe on these, not as much. But I try not to press it down too much, but they don't have that much stickiness to it. But that doesn't mean that sometimes it does occur where it rips the page a little bit. But as I said, these are all explorations. Okay, as you can see, I'm peeling them off and I'm not looking at what I wrote. Okay, gel stick and oil pastel. As you can see, I'm carefully removing my tape that divided the different boxes, and I'm also labeling each one as it goes by. I had it labeled on the tape before, and as I take the tape off, I can now label it directly onto the paper. So this is stamps with wash and stamps with thick paint, and you just keep going like that and labeling, removing the tape. Okay, all done. As you can see, these were our traditional tools, and I have it all labeled. So I took my Sharpie and I labeled it traditional tools, traditional tools. It's good to be able to have the label so we know when we come back what it is. So you have all of your traditional exploration tools here, and you make your notes on what were the tools that you used and how. For instance, this one here is palette knife, and I used it 2 different ways. I used it just stamping the tip of it, and I used it on the side and the tip to make long lines, cross hatching, etc. So look at it carefully about what you have used for your traditional tools and how you've used them. Some of these examples show traditional tools used in traditional manners, but some used in non-traditional ways, you know. So we've used the brush in different ways, the palette knife in different ways, stencils. We use washes along with thick paint and see what that does. So I hope you had fun doing this. It doesn't matter how many times I do these, they are so exciting. And I always find new ways of using traditional tools. So see you in the next video where we explore non-traditional tools and found objects. So go and collect them and get ready for the next video.